Bueno, vamos a comenzar con la primera pregunta, con el cargo de Televisa Espectáculos, Jorge Ugalde tiene la palabra.
First of all, welcome to Mexico City. And since you realized to coming to Mexico City to do this conference, what do you think about this country? Not only as you as a person, almost as your career. Do you know some Mexican directors and you want to work with them?
Well, it's my first time in Mexico, and so I'm very happy to be here. And I haven't got to see Mexico City yet at all, because I got it late last night. But hopefully, after this trip, I'll want to come back and see the city and explore the country a bit more. As far as directors go, I'd love to work with Guillermo del Toro. He's a fantastic and very, very talented director, and a very nice man too. So fingers crossed I get an opportunity. Hello.
I'm pretty nervous. Did you ever think that you would be working with a star like Russell Crowe in the most anticipated movie of the summer?
No, I never thought that, especially after I met him when I was 16 years old in boarding school. He was working there, I was an extra, and I went up and shook his hand. And there wasn't a second then that I thought, 13 years later, we'd be back to release a movie together. So I'm incredibly happy and just very, very excited to have everyone see this movie.
La siguiente pregunta es de Círculo Mix-Up, Jacqueline Sánchez.
Hello, Henry. I was wondering, how did you manage to create such a unique character amongst all these new superhero movies? How did you prepare yourself mentally to get all that innocence and such a pure soul character?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
With Superman, I think there's so much in the comic books from the source material which we haven't seen before. There is a genuine innocence to the character because he's never truly been able to express himself. If you can imagine what it's like going through life, never having hugged someone so tight, you could just squash them. The problem with Superman is that he actually would, and so he never has that human connection. And it's that sense of detachment and loss and loneliness in the character, while not being overpowering, while not making him morbid, but just that sense of being alone, that lends a very, very strong innocence to the character, purely because he's so powerful, and we all know it. And that's pretty much what I focused on.
¿En qué momento qué estabas haciendo cuando recibiste esa llamada de Zack? Cuando te dijo que ibas a ser Superman, ¿y a quién fueron las primeras personas que le dijiste?
I was actually playing computer games at the time, and it was an online game, and so I didn't have the opportunity to pause it. You know, you play in teams, and people rely on you to do your job in that team, and it was at a high point of the game, and so the phone rings. I don't even look at the phone. I'm just playing. I'll answer it later. I'll call that person back. At the last second, I look down. I see a Zack Snyder calling. So I dive for the phone, try to answer it. I missed the call. And I'm thinking, oh great, I just ruined my career because of World of Warcraft. And I'm sure a lot of people have thought as well. And then I tried calling him back. I didn't get an answer, and eventually he got a hold of me. And he sort of tricked me. He was talking to me like he was letting me down easy and he wasn't going to give me the role. And then eventually he said, basically Henry, I was just calling to see if he wanted to do a little movie with me. And at which point, after that, it felt very surreal. I wasn't prepared for yes, because of all the other movies which had gone before, and all the effort and time I put into that and hope. I expected no, just because that was standard procedure. And then when it finally came to yes, I didn't know how to react. And so I sat there quite quietly for about 15 minutes, just trying to work out whether this actually happened or whether I just dreamt it. And then I tried to call my parents and my brothers, and not one of them picked up. So I was left alone with this crazy thought of thinking, have I gone completely insane now? But then eventually everyone did, and I got to share it.
Grupo Fórmula, por favor, Eric Gallardo.
Bueno, buenos días, Henry, bienvenido a México. Muchas felicidades por la interpretación de este personaje tan bien hecho. Lo primero que te voy a preguntar es, ¿alguna vez pensaste en usar ese tipo de capa? Todos los niños la usan y supongo que en algún momento tú también la usaste. ¿Tú alguna vez viste el primer Superman que hubo en la pantalla? ¿Qué es lo que piensas ahora de este Superman que tú haces con referencia a ese Superman? Y la última pregunta que te quiero hacer es, ¿qué hay de diferente en Henry Cavill antes de Superman y después de Superman?
Okay, I'm going to try to work out which question to answer first. Yes, I wore a cape as a kid, of course. I think we all did at some stage, running around the garden. I never thought that I'd actually be doing this professionally. I never thought that this would come around, especially after the first time, where it was very unbelievable that was happening. I think I was about 21 years old, and it was crazy, and then it didn't happen. And so that sort of cemented the idea that that was never going to happen in my head. And now it's an amazing opportunity to be a part of it. I'm not sure I remember your other questions.
About the character of Superman in the movie.
Oh, okay, the character of Superman in the movie. What is important about this movie is that we have made Superman for a modern age. And what Superman was when he was first seen in a past era had exactly the same effect on that audience. If we had that Superman appear on the screens these days, beg your pardon, sorry? It wouldn't have the same effect as it did then. And we have just evolved the character to have that exact same effect. And hopefully it does. Fingers crossed.
It was great. It was great. Okay. First of all, since 1938, since the character first came out, it's been evolving. You said it yourself. It's been evolving. But right now, Superman is kind of like clustered into this like naivety, and he's kind of ignorant, and this little Boy Scout, and he really doesn't have that much of a fan base outside of people who really love the character. Do you think this movie helps cement him in another way, like really change the idea that people have about Superman, and how does it change the idea that people have about Superman right now?
Yes, I believe it's going to, very much so. The one thing about Superman in past live action, I think, which is very present in the comic books, but for some reason they've made live action, is the humanity of it. What makes him really special is that although he's this alien, he's so very human at the same time. And we're really bringing that to people's attention in this movie. It's very much based in reality. People will be able to associate with his pain, and therefore his decision-making process. And because he experiences that pain, when he makes what is perceived as a good decision or a decision for good, it makes it mean more, as opposed to, well, of course he's doing good things to Superman. So yeah, to answer your question, I genuinely think this is going to change the way people who aren't just mega fans of the character, it's going to change the way they look at it.
Can I just follow up real quick? Can you name me a few comics that you read just to like get into the character?
Yeah, my favorites were Death of Superman, The Return of Superman, Red Sun, and Superman, Batman, Search for Kryptonite.
La siguiente pregunta es de Jorge Alberto Rodríguez, de Rock 101.
Welcome. What was the casting process for this film, and what was the pressure like to be playing such an iconic character? And well, it's been said recently that there won't be a confirmation for a sequel until they see results of this movie. But assuming there will be, are you on board for it? And do you know if Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan would be on board for it? And finally,
I'll write this down, please.
if it had anything to do with this movie, would you be on board for a Justice League film?
The casting process was very short, actually. Normally for these kind of things in the past, it's been, weeks and months of meetings and auditions, and finally a screen test or two even. And this one I had an audition December 2010, and then a screen test in January, and then I had a job by the end of January. So it was very, very fast moving. And any pressures I felt, I'd been through this before with a previous incarnation of Superman, which never made it to the screen. And I'd already lost it once, so I wasn't fearful of losing it again. This was just like a second chance. And so there was no pressure for myself on that side. And when it came to getting the role and the pressure which I potentially may feel from everyone else, I didn't dwell on that. I decided that if I was going to pay heed to external pressures, it's going to negatively affect my career or my performance. And so I just focused on the pressure I was going to put on myself to do the job to the best of my ability. No, we don't know if there's any sequels happening just yet, but if they do happen, I would love to keep on telling this story because I love the character, I put a lot into it, and I share something with the character now because of what I went through. Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan, I have no idea whether they'll be involved again. I really hope so, because without them, this movie wouldn't be what it is. And Justice League, it could be an amazing story, but it's got to be very carefully told. You can't just say, okay, Man of Steel's out now, and now we're going to have Justice League, because they're too powerful a character. If you have all of a sudden a world, filled with these godlike characters, it's just not going to make sense. And the whole point of what we've done with Man of Steel is a base in reality. And so there's got to be a general introduction to that, so Justice League makes sense. But yes, if done properly, I'm very much...
¿Qué tal? Bueno, acabas de comentarnos que no sabes si va a haber una segunda parte. De haberla, ¿qué te gustaría explorar del personaje? ¿Qué te gustaría que estuviera escrito en el personaje a ti como actor?
Very good question, and I would love to give a very complex answer, but it would take forever. I would need to put more thought into it to actually do it justice. Simply, just the idea now that the world knows who he is, and he can allow himself to be that. For the first time, we see it in the movie, him allowing himself to be that, but that's just the first time. And now we get to see him, if we were to have another two, we would get to see him indulge in that and enjoy it. And then the questions he has to ask himself about being this godlike being, and openly so. And just his interaction with humanity. Because although humanity's okay with him when he's saving the day, what about when he's not? How do they feel? What questions are they still asking? So that kind of thing.
I'm going to sit down so these people don't yell at me.
Okay.
So the thing is, I'm going to have to ask the really key question. I love the movie, I adored it, and I think it's going to make people that don't like Superman anymore like it now. Now, let's say they make a second movie, and I know they will. Who would you like to fight as Superman in this movie, like out of all the characters like Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Brainiac? And where do you see the Lois Lane Clark Kent relationship going or evolving to in the next movie?
Very good question. Thank you. I think I'd like there to be an introduction to a character like Brainiac. I wouldn't want to come in direct conflict with Brainiac immediately because I would like that to be further down the line. But perhaps it's like sort of the tendrils of his consciousness affecting Earth in some way, shape or form. Maybe the whisperings of Kandor would be very good, so it gives Kal-El some hope himself. And Lois Lane and Clark, Cal, it's an interesting one. I would like it to be explored as a very new thing and not a simple thing, because, and obviously without the obvious choices and decisions. In that kind of relationship, relationships are tough enough as it is, but in that kind of relationship where one of you is a godlike being, it's gonna, create some questions. And so I'd like those questions to be raised and not just make it like a simple story of affection, but a genuine, real-life story.
¿Qué tomaste para este personaje de Christopher Reeve? ¿Qué recuerdas de él como Superman y qué te inspiró para darle forma a tu personaje?
The important thing for me when I was researching this role and working out how I wanted to play it was not to have another actor's interpretation affect mine. I wanted to go directly to the source material and use the source material like into the comic books. the past live-action movies were other actors' interpretations, and they were amazing what they did, but I wanted this to be very different. And Zach, Chris, and myself, and David, we all wanted to make sure that the way we approached this movie was like no other movie or TV show before that existed. And I followed that route. What was the last part of the question, sorry? Wait for translation.
Sobre eso, sobre la inspiración de Christopher Reeve, si hubo alguna inspiración.
Oh, I'm not reading back there, sorry. What inspired me to give life to my character? There's so much to the character. Sorry, I can hear you translating my ear. There's so much to the character that it wasn't like there was any one thing that inspired me to give life to him. It was just that I felt it hadn't been told in a way that a modern audience can.
Hola, buenos días. Soy Robert para CineN. Bienvenido a México. Mi pregunta es esta. Cada actor que ha interpretado a un personaje icónico como Superman pasa a la historia. ¿Qué se siente pasar a la historia como un Superman que es distinto a todos porque cruza un límite?
Well, it's kind of shocking when you say it that way. It's an honor, a genuine honor. I really hope this affects people in the way we hope it does, and it provides just great entertainment at the same time. Yeah, just a genuine honor, and it's one of those things which I'm just going to have to experience.
Linda Ramírez de VGEzone. Bienvenido a México. Hace rato que estabas comentando que cuando Zach te llamó, decías que estabas jugando un videojuego. Me gustaría saber qué videojuego era. Y me gustaría saber otra cosa. ¿Cuál crees tú que es la diferencia entre hacer películas ahora con la tecnología que tenemos? Si para ti realmente sería, si tuvieras la posibilidad de hacerla, como fue en anteriores años varios, sin tanta tecnología.
I was playing World of Warcraft, first of all, and the difference with all the advanced technology we have these days is that it can help. Sometimes it ruins a movie, sometimes it's too much, and it becomes totally unbelievable. But if applied correctly to a great story, then it can do nothing but accentuate a point, or make something just hit home that bit harder. Would I have done it in the past without the advanced technology? Yes, because I wouldn't have known about the technology we have today. But had I known? I don't know. There are still ways of telling it, very much so. This is just wonderfully done by Zack Snyder with his fantastic visuals, which has added that extra kind of, spice to it.
Hola, buenos días. Eduardo Rueda de CB Televisión. En México y en el mundo hay una crisis de valores y Superman siempre ha sido el superhéroe por excelencia. ¿Qué le tenemos que seguir aprendiendo a Superman aparte de no decir nunca mentiras, de buscar el bien, etcétera?
Apart from not telling lies and looking to do good. That the answers aren't always obvious. It's not always, the good option isn't always singular and right in front of you. And so explore the options and just do your absolute best to make the right decision for those around you, and also to keep your own integrity intact.
I'm Henry Cavill from VGEzone. First of all, which are would you like to take the role of 007 in a future project or not?
Would I like to?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would like to, yeah. But that is, down the line a long way, if it were to even happen, because I think Daniel's still got 2 movies left. So ask me again in, 5, 6 years?
All right. Thank you very much.
No, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm more afraid of hitting the ground from a high height. But heights I'm okay with.
Los sentidos no están permitidos los autónomos. Bueno, pues con esto damos por terminada esta conferencia de prensa. Thank you very much, Henry, for being here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.